Hello and welcome to Eternal Durdles. I'm your host, Zach Clark, and with me as always, Phil Blackman. Phil, how's it going, man?
Bro, it's going great. How are you doing?
I'm good. We're recording this a little late on a Monday, so we're going to basically be posting this up on Tuesday. I had a somewhat busy weekend, actually. I did a big walk with the dog. We went pretty far. But on top of that, I actually went to a concert for the first time in, I don't know, like 3 years.
How was One Direction?
Oh, no, it was a Motion City soundtrack.
That sounds awesome. How was that?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. They put on I've seen them live maybe 3 or 4 times. I think a couple times at Warped Tour. I saw them. I saw them. This is going to date me. Nate would know this band. I saw them with Rufio. Like when they first came out. Rufio did a cover of like a Prayer by Madonna. Specifically, I can remember that. Yeah, but I bought this concert for it was the 15th anniversary of Commit This to Memory, which is their second album. And it got canceled from COVID, and then got they rescheduled it, and that got canceled from COVID, and they rescheduled it. So this is like the 4th time they've rescheduled it, and it actually happened. But everybody that I bought 3 tickets, and everybody that I bought tickets for couldn't go, so I just gave tickets away and went. Actually, a guy from the local here, I went onto the local Discord for Philly Game Shop, and I got this guy Rob got a ticket from me, and we met at the show, which was pretty cool.
Are you telling me in this moment that you are the ticket master?
I literally am the ticket master. Yes.
Wow.
But yeah, no, it was
we were mages.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Somebody tried to start fights in the mosh pit at a Motion City
fights in a mosh pit. Who's ever tried to do that?
Motion City soundtrack show though. Come on, I've been
in a mosh pit and thought,
I've been to hundreds of shows. I've never gotten to a fight once. I've never even come close. And I get in there, I do my thing, But man, it's always at the events where a fight should never happen. Where where people aren't experienced with the idea of going to a show and / being in a mosh pit. Or being on the edge of a mosh pit, which is what this problem was. This guy was watching the band with his girlfriend with their back to the mosh pit, and then kept getting mad when someone would hit them. And it's instead of bitching about this, you should just move out of the way. And then
proximity to a mosh pit. The closer your proximity to a mosh pit, the closer you are to get moshed. So.
Yeah, you're gonna get moshed. Yeah, that is the golden rule of mosh pits. You will get moshed if you're near a mosh pit. That was slight downer, but aside from that, it was a really fun show. They played all of Commit This to Memory, and then they played the hits after that. They played stuff off of My Dinosaur Life and I'm the Movie, and they ended with The Future Freaks Me Out. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Nice classic set list.
Yeah, I left feeling good, and I took a car home and passed right out when I got home. Took a shower, passed out.
But I got a question for you. Before we dive into everything that we're talking about today, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the most egregious, how egregious is it that Sensei's Divining Top is getting a reprint in Double Masters, but not on Banned in Legacy?
That's pretty egregious. How egregious is it that they reprinted Gifts Ungiven, which is also not legal in Commander, not played anywhere? I'm the preeminent Gifts Ungiven player in the world, probably, right? And that was when I was playing it in Modern.
Bro, it's all of those. It's all the Legacy Gifts Ungiven players.
Yeah, of course. Oh, another quick things that happened. I got a Steam Deck.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is I've been playing Elden Ring on this thing. This is super fun.
Wait until you play MTG Arena on that.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, it's basically a PC, so I could set that up if I wanted to.
No, for sure.
I'm not into hacking the mainframe and stuff, and that show Reboot. I don't do that stuff. But for what it's worth, it's nice. I have a Nintendo Switch, so I don't really get to play any of the newer generation games when they come out, because it's always they're too good for the Switch, because that's how Nintendo rolls. They just put out 2 years later worth of technology. But it's nice to be able to actually play a game.
Speaking of that, when they do the Super Mario Brothers Secret Lair,
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
All right. So what 4 cards make it into the secret lair, and what do they do?
I mean, you got to go with Archelos, right? Because he's a Durdle turtle, right?
This is the whole new secret lair. I'm thinking you got Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach.
Oh, okay. You're saying we're not gonna like Stranger Things like create.
Oh no, we're not.
So you're saying who makes it in?
It's straight up. It's Street Fighter Secret Lair, but instead it's Super Mario. And if they did what they got 6 in Street Fighter, so you could do 6 in Super Mario. So you got Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, Yoshi, and
Bowsette.
You want Bowsette? You think Bowsette makes the cut? At 6?
No way.
You're tired.
No way. Well, Bowsette's not officially
pick in the draft, and you're taking Bowsette.
Yeah, I say Waluigi, Wario, Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Princess Daisy. Those are my choices.
Oh, so you're just like I'm not interested in Bowser at all. You're like, Bowser doesn't even get in this at all.
You could throw in Bowser and Donkey Kong if you wanted, but like
no. Well, I get like
Mario's a better villain, man.
Yeah, but yeah, is he? I guess he has got as much clout as Bowser at this point.
Yeah, it's funny because like I don't know how much you know about like the mythos of like all these characters, but so Waluigi never shows up in non-sports games.
Oh, interesting.
He's like that friend, like he's like that friend that you know that like plays Magic, but like refuses to play anything else. Like you might have a group of friends like for your board game night, and you invite everybody over, and like they all know Waluigi, but he's like, I only play Magic. Like that's all I do. And you're like, oh, we're going to a concert. He's like, sorry, I only play Magic. You know,
so Waluigi's like, if we're not playing tennis, I'm not interested.
He's like, I only do sports. Like I'll race, I'll do racing, but like adventure stuff or like Mario versus Rabbids, that stuff. He's like, no, I don't do that. I don't like that stuff is nerd shit. I don't fuck with it.
Yeah. I think he's like, no. Of all of the people in the Super Mario universe, which one, if only one is a planeswalker, who is it?
Ooh, dude, Latiku.
I think Latiku's the planeswalker.
Latiku, dude, Latiku. Yeah, dude, he can definitely planeswalk. You kill him and then he just pops back up later on. What's that all about?
Oh man, I think Boo is the planeswalker.
Boo?
I think it's
get out of
here. Boo's always, he's
there's
always
like
disappearing. Where's he going? Where's he going?
There's always like 27 Boos on the screen though.
Yeah, dude, because he's everywhere. That's his.
He can duplicate himself like Jason Ixalan.
Amazing. And if it's not Boo, it's got to be Toad.
This is the legacy content you've come here for, folks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is secret lair speculation, and there's going to be a special secret lair coming later this year that they haven't told us about. If you they told us there's a special secret lair coming. They just haven't said what it is.
This is the classic. Like we don't have like a script for these episodes.
I think that we could have. I think one thing that they could do is they could do secret lair banned cards, and then just give us like Deathray Shaman reprint and Dig Through Time reprint, and like they're legal in Pioneer.
Deathray Shaman, but it's what's it called, Toad.
You don't know. I think would be cool. I think if they I want to see them do silver border, like a secret lair silver border set. So it's not competitive. It's not tournament legal. Of mistakes that they've made and how they should have designed them. So like, what should Deathray Shaman actually have looked like? And then give us that in silver border. You know what I mean? Yeah. That'd be fun. I think that would be like a nice nod to like, Magic's history. It's like, we understand mistakes happen, whatever. We all get it.
To totally drive this point into the ground, Phil, if you could choose like an IP for them to do for Secret Lair, what would you choose?
If I could choose an IP for them to do, Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot. Wow, you're going right for the throat, huh?
I think it would be really awesome to see how they would do Crash Bandicoot. I just want to see like.
Phil, do you know my dad is a huge Crash Bandicoot fan?
Do you know? So I just want to know what would Aku Aku do, and it's not allowed to be an equipment.
I choose Zelda. Like that's
that's a good one.
I choose like Link, Ganon, Zelda, Impa, Bagu from the second Legend of Zelda that nobody ever played.
Actually, you just reminded me of for secret layers that I would want them to do now is I think there's like obviously there's the possibility of eventually going into comic book space, right? Like get
why not
like those kinds of characters in comic book space. And because I've been watching The Boys, I would really love to see what they could do with The Boys characters as Magic cards. That would be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, they'd all be indestructible, it seems like.
Yeah, it seems like they would all be indestructible, but like, you know, I think it would be cool to see how they do that kind of thing with indestructible. Really, I just want to see what they would do with Frenchie.
Yeah, and Huey has Skulk.
Yeah, Huey has Skulk. That's it. He's just a one for one with Skulk. Human Skulker. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, man. I've been like really going hard on TV. Like, I mean, I've always been going hard on TV ever since the pandemic happened because it's like just something to do. But like between like Obi-Wan, have you watched For All Mankind? Hey, if you're out there and you have seen For All Mankind, this is a perfect time for you to like and subscribe to the podcast.
That's the kind of content that you get. Actually, another thing that I think would be cool as a secret lair that they could do. I mean, I know that they do it for the World Championship where they give somebody a promo card, but I think it would be cool to do like invitational cards essentially as a secret lair. So after they've gotten enough people who have earned like their qualification or whatever, it's like secret lair invitational or whatever. And the 4 people who have won the major events of the year get to help design a secret lair. And then they don't have to worry about the confines of what that looks like in a set and how it drafts, you know, because I know like when PV got his card, they confined it to like, he got back and forth with it, but I think you mentioned how he wasn't really, he got like options that they gave him and then he got to like sort of work with those options, but he like didn't actually get what he wanted. Like he wanted a blue card, but they were like, we don't have a slot for a blue card, so you can have this white card or a black card. And then he sort of got to pick what it was, but it wasn't fully the same thing as like being able to submit your card and then like actually go back and forth on it. But with the secret lair where you're not confined to how does a card draft within a given environment, that would be cool. I think that would be what I want.
You know, initially Snapcaster Mage was supposed to be a land that costs like you could channel and it costs 2 and 2 blue to counter target spell. I'm not making that up. That's literally what it was.
Uncounterable 4 mana channel land. Yeah.
Anyhow,
I mean, that's the best one was Finkel's doing a Wrath of God that just untaps 4 lands.
Yeah. I mean, you know, why not? So you could just slam down your creature immediately.
It was Wrath of Leknef, which is just Finkel's name backwards, and it was part of the untap cycle, like Treachery, and it was Wrath of God, untap 4 lands. It was awesome. Wow. They were like, okay, so control just never is unbeatable.
Yeah,
Wrath your board, untap all my mana, go. That would have been a delight. Instead, he got a 1/3 with Fear.
Yeah, I mean that card is very Finkel, like because of
that card now would just be a 1/3 for one in a
common too.
Yeah, it'd be a common.
I mean, it's already been downgraded to uncommon, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like now. I think I remember he told the story where he was like, I knew I did something wrong when I submitted my 1/3 for 3, my 1/3 for 1 blue black with Fear and the Ophidian text, and they said,
cool.
yes,
yeah, this is fun.
With no pushback. He was like, I knew in that moment I made a mistake, and I was like, he could have. I wonder if how good it would have been if he had submitted it as just blue black 1/3 with the same thing, just shaved a mana off of it.
I mean, it probably would have saw play like that during that era. That card didn't even see play. It was a card that when it came out was like $20. Everybody wanted to get it because they were like, this card's amazing. You know, Forbidian, you know, we get how to play with this card, but the blue black card that actually everyone played instead was Psychotog.
Psychotog was in the same, but I wonder what long, like the same way that like Dark Confidant has like an in and out of longevity, like it'll still show up sometimes now, but it's kind of fringy because the power level has just been so lopsidedly increased. But I wonder how far Finkel's card would have gone if it cost 2 instead of 3. Like I wonder if it would have
like
had any amount of significant more play. not even a 2/4. It's just like if like because at 3 mana it's just too much because then you're not actually drawing another card until turn 4, and that's assuming that you committed your entire turn 3. But if you got it a turn earlier and it's not hard pressuring your opponent, and then you have other more powerful things that you could be doing. Like I wonder if it would ever have actually seen play. Like
I think if
Nowadays,
it
it's
was an 03 that like if it got through unblocked, you know, like
yeah,
they
I
could
wonder
have
if
done
it's
that.
like right now, it's like you have Baleful Strix at 2 that is just a value card that controls the board to some extent. And I wonder if you had the potential to be like, do I want Baleful Strix or do I want Finkel? And the incentives of being like, do I want to get in there to draw cards over the course of a turn, but then he's not really going to control the board all that well, or do I want board presence? And like,
it could
there's
be
an interesting debate
like
in that
legacy,
to be had. You know,
it could be legacy playable at 2 mana. I think, yeah. At
yeah,
least it'd be an option to consider. Like at 3 mana, you're not ever like, come on, Oro exists, right?
Yeah, because I think if it had the text of if it deals anytime there's a creature that needs to deal combat damage and the effect isn't overwhelming, like a Ragavan or something at super cheap, I'm waiting for them to switch the text of a card to say when it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, because I know I remember whenever I would play with the cards that are like it has to deal combat damage to a player, that then when you really need to get a planeswalker off the board and you're attacking the planeswalker, but then don't get the effect of why you put the card in your deck in the first place because planeswalkers are broken, it's like, oh man. But I wonder if a 1/3 for blue black with you know whatever with menace or whatever the unblockable replacement for fear is right now, and it said whenever it deals combat damage to a creature or planeswalker, draw a card, if that would see any considerable play at all.
Yeah. I think there's a possibility for it, but like, you know, they're never gonna print that. They're never gonna be like, we print a card that's significantly better than the card that
they've already done that. They've done that a million times. They've done that a million times. There's no that's
we'll make a 1 mana Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, so I guess it's funny. So we should title this "Do Not Listen to This Episode" or "Do Not Watch This Episode."
Oh wow! Wow, he's already lost hope.
Yeah,
no, I actually there is something I had a really interesting conversation that I wanted to talk about this episode.
Before we get to that, we because that to me is the meat and potatoes of this episode. I wanted to bring up like a couple of quick like bullet points, like fast fire. You know, just stuff that people should know about the Magic the Gathering in the summer of 2022. So real quick, this is going to take less than 5 minutes. First off, something I've noticed over the last like couple of months specifically is like singles prices are at some of the best they've ever been. If you're playing standard, if you're playing any format, right? Commander, because they keep printing like 4 or 5 different, or 3 or 4 different versions of a card between foils and different treatments, and then foils of different treatments, and then like a full art version. The version of that people like the least is significantly always cheaper than the like one that everyone likes the most. So you can
isn't the version that's always cheapest the regular version?
No, no, it's not. Like people really don't like the like D&D ones for some reason, and these are like pennies on the dollar in comparison. Like I think I got the white and the blue dragon for like $20 when or like something like $15 or something like that, and the full art version was like $30+ at the time. So we should get
we should get a vendor on at some point to talk about which versions of all these cards. I get that art matters a lot, especially for like the borderless versions.
Yeah.
But I always just assume that just like the regular Magic card, like the regular standard version of a card, it always goes for less than the extended art or the borderless.
It seems like the like hierarchy of like what's good is like old border versions of cards are the top tier, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes down to like foils that don't curl, so like etched foils generally do pretty good, and then it's like
nice, yeah.
And then it's like regular card, and then like if there's a showcase that players don't like, in particular, apparently people don't like I feel like I love this. I think this is so cool. Like, but like that's so particular to who I am.
I actually really like the D&D showcase as well. I know people really didn't like the Modern Horizons sketchbook stuff either as a showcase.
Yeah, that didn't
go over well. I liked those, but I'm like a sucker for like the the experimental stuff. I mean, literally, I paint on all of my cards. So
yeah, exactly. But so and in that scenario, you're like better off because it doesn't really matter what the art is. Somebody's going to paint over top of it.
Yeah,
anyhow,
yeah.
right?
What's Mengucci's slogan? He's like, buy high, never sell.
Buy high, never sell. Jeez. Yeah, so that's like a point I wanted to make. Like, you know, when you're looking to buy, I play a lot of Commander, so like on my desk they're just constantly like, Commander decks like in the works happening. So I buy a lot of like random singles and stuff, and I've been seeing a lot of, oh, okay, like I can just like get the cheapest versions of these, and it's significantly like less cost to do that. So that's something you should just keep in mind as you're looking around.
Just quickly, out of curiosity, who's your favorite EDH general that is not competitive? Like the one where you're like, I have this and I know I'm never winning games with it, but I have a blast playing it.
Man, that's tough. So I think, so I got two answers. One, I really like Uban. Uban is a landfall guy. He's a 3/3 like elf shaman or elf spirit.
Okay.
And whenever he comes into play, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. And then during combat, target land becomes a XX creature equal to Uban's power and toughness with trample and haste. So you can you basically just like start attacking people with like a giant land because you've made Uban huge. But actually, the deck that I'm building right now, I think is going to be a blast. I'm doing Garth and doing Maze's End in Garth.
Oh right, yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah. Garthgate.
Yeah. Then the other one, the one I'm actually building right now is Raised by Giants and Baelith. Basically, he is a 3/3 for 5 mana that gives all creatures with power less than him goad. But if you raise by giants, all of your commanders are 10/10s. So it gives all of your opponent's creatures goad. And basically, like, they can never attack you. They have to attack each other. So that's, I don't know. That seems super fun to me.
Yeah, that sounds that I like the political stuff. So
yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
So
anyway, keep going. Sorry, keep going on your list.
Yeah. So anyhow, then the last thing I want to bring up, so we're closing on that 5-minute mark, right? The last thing I want to bring up is I watch a lot of Magic the Gathering content online just to see what we can do that's working in the community and as a whole as like content creators. And one of the things I saw was the booster box game that the professor does every set. And so the booster box game is like the professor opens up like a set and draft booster of each set and sees if he gets value, and he keeps going until he doesn't get like the box's cost in value of like cards in singles, right? And so the last one he did was a set booster of Baldur's Gate 2. Opened up the entire box and he got $50 worth of value. And he was like, I'm sorry, that's got to be an outlier. Like, let me do that again. And he opened up another box and got like $40 worth of value. And that all goes towards saying like you should just be for sets like this where there's like no value, because like they didn't reprint like Jeweled Lotus or like Dockside Extortionist. Obviously they were waiting for Dockside Extortionist for this set. Like those staples that like bring up the value of a set. The singles are like worth nothing in Baldur's Gate. Like I bought like a ton of stuff. I went and bought like every background commander and every background, and it was like $30. It was like 40 something cards. It was like $30.
What's crazy too is I like there are some cards that are worth like some crisp 20s. Like the two both the 2-mana flash 2/2 white creatures that give you value. They're in
the what's it called?
Yeah, they're both in Baldur's Gate. They're both hovering around like I'm looking at the borderless versions right now, but they're both $20 on
borderless. But they're in the thing is, Phil, they're in the like precons.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
So like I don't have the other one, but like the this precon in particular, the black white one, if you can find it, you get like $140 worth of value of cards in it.
Oh, okay.
And it's like $30-$40 at like Best Buy or Target or whatever. Like if you go to a Target, you can pretty much find these just sitting on shelves, and you get like a lot of value out of this, especially if you're like a kid. Like like buy this, give it to your kid or your friend's kid after you take the one card that you need out of it, and there you go. But like Yeah, I mean, I guess I say all that to say this: buy singles right now. Like it's summertime. Go to your LGS and buy singles. Go to TCG Player. I wish we had a TCG Player affiliate link. I should really get on that now that we are an LLC. We can actually do that sort of stuff. But like we should get a TCG link. Anyhow, I say all that to say this: buy singles. It's a great time to do it. If you like to brew in Legacy, wonderful time to buy singles to just get weird stuff and figure out if decks work or not. That's all I've got to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say. Phil, you were saying something about competitive Legacy.
Oh yeah, so I had a really interesting conversation with so at Game Story this past week there was a Legacy Monthly. I've been working on Miracles as always, but I've been recently working on a version of Miracles that is very focused on counterbalance and as the plan A. And I know we've talked about on the cast before about how you're figuring out what your when you're putting your deck together and making your card choices, that the way you got to think about that is what's the legacy power level thing to do. That card should be the basis of what your deck does, and then you fill out the rest of your card choices from there. So like if before it used to be Terminus, and just like ABC deck building, my plan A was Terminus. I thought Terminus was the most powerful thing to be doing. Nowadays, all of the power level is such that every threat is individually powerful, and much less often do decks need to extend into a Terminus the same way that they used to when they were doing like Deathrite Shaman into Leovold or Birds of Paradise into, whatever. And you would be able to catch, go up a couple cards off of a Terminus, and that was where your power level was. Nowadays, you just don't have to do that. There isn't really that play pattern anymore. Everything is so individually powerful. But in a world where Delver is 20% of the field, and Jeskai is the other best deck, and Acast Affinity is the second or third best deck, where Acast Affinity is like all 0 drops, and then Delver's all 1 drops, and then for the most part in Jeskai, at least in the control mirror, there's like 8 cards in the deck that you care about. It's like Narset Teferi and then maybe some Mentors.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, like Counterbalance's focus can actually leverage you advantage over the course of a game because the CMCs have zoned in. So when I'm building Miracles, I'm thinking, okay, these are the decks that I want to target. Counterbalance is worthwhile. I want Counterbalance, therefore I want Mystic Sanctuary, and then therefore I want like Entreat the Angels, like something that works as the other side of the spectrum where Counterbalance isn't good. Going big over the top with Entreat the Angels is. So there's like the concept of the deck. Anyway, so I've been working on that, and I had a really interesting conversation with Chris Benucci of 90s MTG, who's been trying out a couple of different decks. He loves playing like Grixis blue-black base control decks. And for the last like 2 weeks or so, he's been playing Thomas Marr's 4-color like good stuff deck, which is like essentially what old Grixis was of like Hymn to Turok and all of that stuff, but it's splashing white for like good white removal. Yeah, it's like Pile, except it's more like a bunch of Teferis, a bunch of Hymn to Turoks, Expressive Iteration, all the white removal. But it's obviously the color density of all those cards I said is really in depth. So he's playing no basics in that list. And he's been trying out that list, and he hasn't found his footing with it, really. He says that he's not really enjoying it because the mana is so stretched and all that. But we had an interesting conversation about, he opened up his hand one game, and he's also like trying to figure out how he's supposed to pilot the deck. And he's like, am I supposed to lead on turn 1 Ponder or turn 1 Inquisition in the blind? And I was like, given the other context of whatever your hand is, right? Like, let's say that hand has a second land drop. If you don't have a second land drop, your Ponder is essentially you're keeping that hand, assuming that Ponder is a land, and you have to ponder for a land, which is unfortunate because you don't really want to be spending your cantrips finding mana sources. But it's okay to keep a hand like that.
Turn 1, turn 2, that's what you have to do sometimes.
Right. That's it. You just need to be able to continue developing in your deck. But if you do have a second land drop, right? Let's say your hand is rolled up. Ponder, in my mind, would be, okay, what's your deck trying to do? What's it trying to accomplish? And whatever it's trying to accomplish, that's what Ponder should be helping you find. It should be helping you find the plan A if you're in the blind and you don't need to change your course of action. But in a deck that has Hymn to Turok in it, the only type of deck that I can conceptually understand that would have Hymn to Turok in it is a deck that is looking to simplify the game as much as possible. You can't be looking to play a high resource game and have Hymn to Turok in your deck, because then it's not going to, like, the best Hymn to Turoks are the ones that catch their last 2 cards, right?
Yeah.
Like the only thing, like, Hymn to Turok
catch their only 2 lands.
It's the same thing. Like, Hymn to Turok in my mind is similar in functionality to Lava Spike. It has one option. It does one thing, which means that there's no flexibility aside from that one thing. If it's in your deck is doing that thing. You can't pivot away from that thing. Otherwise, you wouldn't put that card in your deck.
Yeah.
So in my mind, if he's playing 4 color and that deck is playing 3 Hymn to Turok, your game plan, the point of your deck is to simplify the game as much as possible and then run away with whatever's left over. It's similar to how old Grixis Control back in like Grixis Control days, where it was like Baleful Strix and Kolaghan's Command and Snapcaster Mage. The reason that those decks would win with like chip damage off at the end between like Snapcaster and Baleful Strix is because everything else about that deck was meant to simplify the game. And then once the game was so simplified, it didn't matter what you win with. Yeah, I'll win like chipping in the air with 2 Baleful Strix or whatever until you're dead. So when he's at the point where he's like, am I supposed to ponder turn 1 or Inquisition turn 1? I think, well, if your plan A in the dark is I want to simplify the game, I am always leading with Inquisition there. But that is like the type of decision where like that decision is informed by how you've conceptually built your deck. The plan A is to simplify the game as much as possible. So if I'm in the dark on turn 1, I want to simplify the game. I'm firing off the discard spell. You know, granted, there isn't like the outlier example like we talked about of needing to find a second mana source. But even so, I think there's also argument that you're taking the risk of, if you can't play around Wasteland anyway, because you're not playing any basics in your deck, that it's also possible that you're like, even if this Ponder is committed to finding a second land on turn 2, if I don't find one, I would still potentially Inquisition on turn 1, because I want to Inquisition, simplify the game state, assume that I'm not going to get Wastelanded because I'm not playing around that card anyway, because I have no basics in my deck. And then if I don't find a land on turn 2, I'll then be able to ponder and know what I'm looking for, plus be able to look for a second land drop if I don't hit it. So that is to say that when you were saying now is a great time to brew, I think that when you're thinking about those kinds of cards in your deck, you have to be thinking, what is your plan A? And know that ideally in a vacuum, if you're playing a proactive strategy in any meaningful way, which is similar to like why I'm moving over to Counterbalance, because it's a more proactive plan.
Yeah.
What are your first 4 turns? In a vacuum, ideally your deck is doing, if your deck is functioning at its maximum capacity within the first 3 or 4 turns, what is it doing every single time? And unless you need to change plans from that and pivot, you know, because you're playing against something like oops all spells or something, or that something doesn't line up, but like you should know what that is. And then when you're brewing, you should have a concept of like what that is every time, and then play to that every time until you have a reason not to. Now, seconding on that, Grixis Control also got some reasonable tools that can sort of change its type of plan after the fact. So it recently got Hidetsugu, who consumes all, really powerful spell. But it's really powerful against certain things against certain kinds of decks, right? It's really good against Delver. It's really good against 8-cast. It's not good against Jeskai, right? It's not going to be good against the decks that aren't spamming stuff where the first level of, right, exactly. But the same way that like you could have a Grixis deck where post board against certain decks, that's your plan, right? Essentially to say that simplifying the game state off of a Hymn to Turok against 8-cast is going to be pretty tough. Their deck is literally 8 divinations, right? It's going to be really hard to get the divination deck off, like to simplify the game in that context, right? So Hymn to Turok is going to be soft there. But if you pivot your deck where the plan A is like Hidetsugu, who consumes all, is my plan A, I want to navigate the board or navigate the game to get it to where a Hidetsugu ETBs and cleans up. That's where then you can navigate your discard spells to like navigate to that point. So in that regard, your discard spells or your like Inquisition or Thought Seizes early on are going to do different things, right? In the Hymn to Turok version, where that's your plan A, you're thinking, well, I have to strip the Thoughtcast because the whole point of my game is to make sure that they don't do those things. Whereas if your game plan now post-board is Hidetsugu, your discard spell will target something else that Hidetsugu can't clean up. Who cares if they go up 4 cards? If they're putting them all on the table, you're like, well, I need to get rid of this Emery instead. I need to get rid of this Sai instead, because that is not going to get cleaned up by a Hidetsugu. So I'm going to navigate the game towards that as opposed to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are informed decisions based on whatever your plan A is. And then you're thinking about your plan A in your main board and then you're thinking about your plan A in your sideboard choices against certain decks. This is my plan against this deck. This is now my plan A. And I know going into that matchup that is how I'm going to navigate the game, which is different from how I would have done it in the main deck going in blind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was a really like that's like pretty in depth, but that was like off of a simple conversation that Venucci and I had, where he was like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do this and do that. And I was like, that's a clarifying moment, right? That's a moment where you like can learn, like as you're learning to play a deck, that's got to be it, right? And then you can navigate it like if that's your play style. Is that something that you enjoy doing? Is that something that you feel comfortable navigating? You know, and then you can make those choices for yourself in your own way, because you know when you're playing with all the most powerful cards, you have that kind of flexibility. But yeah, that is the what I wanted to convey in this episode, because I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's funny how much like just one question or one play can like bring out like so much conversation, and that's kind of what makes this game amazing. You know, like there's so much.
I think that the thing off of that, all that is to say that like whatever your deck is looking to do. And I think that every deck in the format right now that's good kind of has that, the capacity for that. Now, that's not to say like if you have sideboard cards where like there are certain cards that are just hammers against certain kinds of decks. You know, if you're playing against Dredge, your game plan is really just find your graveyard hate. If
it's just shuffle until you get
it's just find your graveyard hate.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that's where I have always found that like those types of games to be just significantly less interesting, right? Because you're just like looking for your hammer, and it's like if you find it, you win, and if you don't, you lose. And there isn't as much gameplay there. There's less decision making to be had because you're like it's this or bust.
Yeah.
But against those types of decks that have a lot of flexibility in their plans, like they can do multiple things, and then you're trying to navigate against those multiple things with like the capacity of what you're capable of doing. It's very similar to how for years there's always been like the creature pivot, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
I have no creatures in my main deck.
Throw the Rattle Master from the sideboard. Yeah, of course.
Pivot to creatures. That was a really simplified version of just thinking, what is my plan A against certain kinds of decks, right? Yeah. But like if my plan A was this before, I'm pivoting to this as the new plan A, and then my entire deck is going to support that plan A. So here's
back in the day, the play was you played your black Dark Ritual combo deck, and then you would side out like the combo card and side in Phyrexian Negator against a mono mono blue control deck, and you just like boop, and you lost.
There was a time a long time ago where ANT boarded 3 to 4 Dark Confidant. Do you remember this?
Yep.
And they would just be like, all right, I'm playing 8 discard spells. I'm going to go Dark Ritual on 1, duress you, play Bob, go. Yeah. And I'm just going to be the control deck. I'm just going to strip your hand apart while you're sitting there with counter magic because you don't want me to combo off. And I'm going to beat you down and go up cards with Dark Confidant because you have no removal in your deck. And I'm just going to like I'm going to be the control deck against you. And I was like, that's such a sick pivot. It just feels so cool.
Don't side out your lightning bolts, guys. I keep telling people.
But then there's another avenue of when you're figuring out your plan A post board, that whatever you're when you're making your card choices and going into an event. I'm going to use this past Legacy Monthly that I played at my local shop game Story as an example. So I've been trying to figure out, like, I feel like my main deck and everything is very good against Delver. I feel like I'm really set up against Delver. I feel like I'm really set up against 8-cast because I have my pivot plan against the creature matchups is I wasn't playing any Terminus in the main, but I was playing 3 Terminus in the side. And that was a tacit acknowledgement that if any deck is going wide against me, think Elves, think Madness, like any deck that has actually spamming a bunch of creatures that go wide where 1-for-1 removal sucks, like Source of Plasters and Prismatic Ending ain't getting it done. Yeah. And I need to go into a place where Terminus can clean up. That is a pivot. I'm changing to where my plan A is now Terminus again because that's the best thing against those matchups. But again, something like the Control Mirror, like a Jeskai control deck that's playing a bunch of Narsets or Teferis or whatever, I've been trying to figure out what is the best way for me to pivot against those matchups to clean up the fact that we have a bunch of removal in the main that's not actually doing anything. Like Prismatic Ending is notoriously very bad against those decks because if you're spending it on their walker, they've already gone up a card. You're playing at sorcery speed. They get to untap. They have the initiative. They have all of the card advantage. Like you're never winning that game. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking to myself, I've been experimenting with different things to try and help play against those matchups. And one thing that I remember thinking is, okay, what's the axis that they don't compete on? What's the axis that they don't fight over? And those decks aren't playing Wasteland, right? They're not Wasteland decks. They're not really hitting your mana in any meaningful way. If they bring in their like Blood Moons or whatever, they're probably going down a card. Like there are basics in both decks. Like that's not what they're doing. To waste their mana doing that, you'd rather just have a Planeswalker. So I'm thinking, okay, that is the axis that I want to fight on then. So I tried out Search for Azcanta, right? I went old tech. Let's bring out Search for Azcanta. If I flip a Search for Azcanta, there's no way I'm losing a game in a control mirror. And then something that happened, I was playing against Hang Zong, who ended up winning the tournament. But I played a Search for Azcanta against him. And then he went, and I had like 3 or 4 cards in the graveyard at this point. But then he's like, all right, Pyroblast your Search for Azcanta. And then I forced the Pyroblast. And that led him to change his play patterns to now really aggressively fight over the Search for Azcanta, recognizing that it was a threat. But after the game, we were talking about it, and he's like, yeah, I was actually really surprised that you fought over the Pyroblast on the Search for Azcanta. And my rationale for doing so was I was like, that's my plan. That's the pivot that I made.
Yeah.
I boarded into that being the thing. I'm protecting the sideboard cards that I brought in, because if I'm not committed to that plan, what's the point of even boarding it? I didn't board it into 1-for-1 you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, so, that card's there to get you an immense amount of value. So if you can get it to work, then it's over.
And knowing that in my head, I'm like, this is my plan against you. I'm going to make my decisions to reflect that. And then sometimes and that was me, I was experimenting with Search for Azcanta. It didn't end up working out, right? It was protecting it was too much of a hurdle early on in the game. And by the time you're in the late game and everything is developed, it's way harder to get there. So like I was like, I'm going to put it on 2. We're going to fix my draws. It was good with showing me the top card for like prediction stuff. I was like, this looks like a nice, neat little package that can potentially win this matchup. Now it proved to be underwhelming, right? It did, like, the experiment didn't work, but I committed to it in a way that you should commit to your sideboard plans. If you thought like, this is how I want to attack this matchup, I'm going to commit to attacking to it. Even if it doesn't work, at least now you know that even when you're doing it properly, like you're attacking that matchup properly in your head of like, this is the way I want to do it. Even if it doesn't work, you're like, okay, at least now I know it doesn't work. I can put that experiment and I can go and experiment with something else. As opposed to if you're like, okay, I played it and they Pyroblast it and that was it, and I never actually did anything with it and it sucks. It's like, well, if you didn't commit to it, then you didn't actually stress test it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I put my resources behind it, and
I want to jump in to bring up kind of an interesting point. So as a traditionally like a tempo or delver player, like that's not how I play my sideboard cards. Mostly because like delver is all time based, right? Like it's 1-for-1. If I play Search for Azcanta, say, in my delver deck, I wouldn't do that normally, but like let's say I'm doing that, I slam this card, and then my opponent counters it, and let's say like I have the option to like daze, right? And I have to determine whether or not like this is the time to daze. Normally the answer is if you can daze, you should daze, right? Mm-hmm. But I have to determine whether or not I want to punish this person for playing like 3 drops or whatnot, and deal with them that way. And I think it's interesting to decide like the thing that I want to fight over is specifically this card because it's part of my sideboard versus like this card because it's the time to do the thing. There's an interesting like push-pull there.
Yeah, I mean that's game navigation, right? Like you're just thinking like how does their mana, like I think that like when you're playing Delver and you're playing any type of Daze deck, you have to think what am I playing against? Where are the stress factors on their curve? And then how am I navigating to leverage my soft counter magic against their curve? Yeah. And I think that's where your pivot points like really come in. And then if you can get into a stack war to think, okay, like their counter magic is all free counter magic, or are they playing like flusters or something? Like where can I, stress their mana or try and navigate the game where I can then leverage? And that's going to be where you have good Daze players versus medium Daze players, right? Yeah. Like the ones that can the ones that are aware.
There are no bad Daze players.
Daze is powerful.
It's like there are no bad questions.
But it's like, but it is one of those things where it's like, okay, if you're playing against Jeskai and you're like, okay, I know that they have 8 3-drops, and I know that all of their threats that can beat me are at 3. So that means that if they want to play around Daze, they're not going to do it until 4. And if that's the case, then when am I supposed to properly wasteland them if they give me a target?
Exactly.
That's gonna, because I'm trying to stress, I'm trying to manage their play pattern while ideally having a threat in play. Because if we can fight over like how you're maneuvering your curve while I'm clocking you, that's the ideal spot for Delver to be. If I'm doing that without a clock, then I'm going to lose that game because you have time, and I can't leverage I can't leverage you having time.
Yeah.
So
versus Delver, time plus Delver equals you lose.
Right. Yeah. That's where, like,
I guess I lost.
It's also like, it's also one of those things where it's like, if you have a threat and then you, like, let's say you turn 1 threat, turn 2 cantrip, and you're playing against the Jeskai deck that has a bunch where you're like the 3 drops are what matter, then you're like, okay, I will now know based on where we are in the game, based on what their mana situation is, am I keeping this daze that I just pondered or not? It's like, is this player showing me that they are aggressively playing around days? Do they think that, like, I boarded some of them out because they're I'm on the draw or whatever? You know what I mean? It's like, that's where, reading what their behavior is, but then also just knowing in the aggregate what their deck is likely to be and where their curve sits, that's going to give you points. But I see what you're saying. That's just like that's navigation, right? That's just like,
I mean, it's literally like, I mean, all of this stuff is calculations you have to make on the fly anyhow. So you just kind of, what is it? What's the Jedi thing? Only Sith deal in absolutes. There's never a 100% this is what you should always be doing situation, unless it's casting days, and you should always be putting the land back in your hand. Don't hard cast days, guys. Come on.
Wow.
Don't hard cast days. Stop doing that. It's not necessary.
Until you're putting TNN back in your deck.
If you can hard cast days, you should be brainstorming that land away. That's all I'm saying.
Very bad,
well, let's round. I guess that kind of is the cast for this week. I did want to mention. I'm going to. So Command Fest Philly is happening this weekend.
Oh yeah. And one thing, if you're going to Command Fest Philly and you have all of your decks, one place where you should share all those deck lists before you go.
Exactly. It's MoxField. Go to MoxField.com. Check out MoxField.com. It works great on your PC. It works great on your Mac. It works amazing on your phone. I do most of my deck messing around on the toilet on my phone. Like, I'm going to be the first one to admit, don't touch my phone. It's got poop particles all over it.
Wow.
But being able to use the MoxField website is so intuitive on your phone, and because you don't need an app or anything like that on it, it's just amazing. You just go to MoxField.com or log in, boom, and you're making a deck immediately. So I just love it for that. If you're not using it, you're using some other like website. Come on, like, what are you doing? You should already be on this.
Get on.
We've had this conversation before. Stop sending me your tappedout.com deck list. Get out of here with that.
Get on MoxField. All the links are in the description. Get in there.
But so to talk about Command Fest, as like I've never been to one, so I think there's been like 3 maybe Command Fest so far. I've never been to one, so I really don't know what to expect. And I do play Commander, but I don't know. Like I'm gonna bring, at least on the first day, I'm gonna bring my Legacy decks just to see if there's like side events or whatnot for Legacy.
I think there are.
Yeah, I'm gonna report back either way. So next week you guys will get a was this a good idea? Kind of thing.
The next big Legacy event that I'm aware of, I mean, that I know I'm going to, is the Legacy Pit 2, but that's not until October.
Yeah, so it's a while, right? Yeah,
it's a while.
When is that? Where is that?
That's in off the top of my head. I think it's in Richmond.
Oh, okay, that's a drive. You should pick me up on the way down.
I think it is. I no. Is it? I think it's Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. That's a whole different thing.
Don't take our word for it here. Go look at their
go look it up.
But go sign up for the Legacy Pit if you haven't gone yet. The first event was a really good event. But I think this next one is actually going to be a lot better because any of the things that those guys have learned from their first go around, but also because this time around it's mask mandated and proof of vax required. So the first go around, it was max mandated, but it wasn't proof of vax required, I don't believe. but the second one definitely is. So I mean, that's why I signed up for it. So
it's in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, it's in Richmond. Okay, yeah.
October 1st, 2022 at 10 a.m. Richmond, Virginia. Looks like it's $115 to enter. 20 grand cash payout. 2 days, cut after top.
And it's all about the belt, though. You get the belt. It's that championship title belt.
Then you can be the heel of Legacy at that point, right?
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. Yeah, I want to raise that belt overhead and then cut a promo on the entire Legacy community.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
But
we have those promos made already, right?
Dude, it's going to be in the moment right after I'm going to terminus somebody's board, and then they're going to extend the hand, and I'm not even going to shake it. I'm just going to reach the belt, take it off of the camera setup.
No,
yeah, oh yeah.
You don't shake the hand. You do this. You do this.
Yeah, you flick the toothpick in their face. Yeah, I'm the bad guy. Yeah.
You're like,
right, yeah. You do the old classic heel.
R.I.P. Scott Hall.
You're like, hey, give me 5 there, and then they reach to give you 5, and then you just pull it away. You
do this,
slap their hand out. Yeah.
I don't have enough hair to even do that. That's the worst part. Are you?
That's what I mean.
Did the bald guy just not shake my hand and try and fix his non-existent hand?
Yes, he definitely did. And you got fucking got. Yeah, what you did.
So I'll report back on how that format is. I think I'm going to see a couple people there. I'll wear my shirt on one of the days. So if you happen to see me there, say hi. You know, maybe we'll jam some EDH. I am rocking like kind of medium to low power level. Like I want to say like under 7 to like 5 power level EDH decks, but I have some higher level stuff. I got a couple CEDH decks I might bring too, just for the hell of it. See what that's all about.
I am pretty curious to see how they differ, if they differ at all from like Grand Prix just without a main event. Like, is there any other draw? Is it just, this is a Grand Prix except it's just mono side events? Essentially, without the main event, or is there something else that is like a draw that would make it attractive to actually travel out and pay money for?
The thing is, like, so we did the the SCG event in Philly. That was like a super blast. I went out with some, went with some friends, and we all did that. And I got to play Commander on the side events. But the problem with those events now is that the room is so packed full of people, and like there's side events everywhere. And every time you sit down to play a game, you have to move. So this, this won't be the case, because you're paying for like kind of you're paying for the space. So it won't be overcrowded. I don't know.
You reminded me, you made me think of another Legacy event that I can't travel to because it's too far from me over here far over on the East Coast, but Buffalo Chicken Dip Legacy, if you're in the Midwest, also has another big event coming up. So you follow those accounts, because if that's where you are, those events also always look so sick. The Buffalo Chicken Dip Legacy is one of those events where I've like aspire to eventually be able to go and play in one, and it's just because it's far enough out away that I don't make it. But I want all of those types of things between Legacy Pit and Buffalo Chicken Dip, and all like those types of outside of WotC, like the event organizers that are doing those things. I just want those to essentially become as big as Eternal Weekends, and then there's like an Eternal Weekend every other month. Like that would be ideal. That would be awesome if there were just like 6 to 8 events a year that are like big events that people care about. I would love that. Like big paper events that people care about.
I mean, I'm going to be hard pressed to try and make it back to Ohio. It's going to be real hard to get me to go to the state I was born in, but I do not love to be in. But that said, I mean, hey, look, if you're from Ohio, no hate on you. I got some family there I don't want to deal with,
Yeah, and it's primarily because they always lie about the power level of their commander decks.
Yeah, that is the issue. It's like people who are like playing like Manavolt, and they're like, it's a 7, but they like churn out their commander on the first turn. And then they're
like,
come on, guys.
Got my hand, Urza, kill you. And it's like, all right.
Like, this isn't fun. No infinite combos. Come on. Like, we talked about this.
Also, to conclude the conversation that we've had today, if, I know a lot of times that we do it, other podcasts do it. They're always like, leave a comment, help us out, algorithm, all that stuff. And, why would anybody actually ever spend time doing that? But if there was a part of the conversation that where you're thinking the plan A for a certain deck and you're unsure about stuff and like why something isn't working, and you actually like want to have those conversations, hop over into our Discord.
Dude, we love it. Get in the Discord. We just renewed the Discord too.
If you want to talk about like a deck that you're working on or a brew you're working on, or even if it's a tier deck and you're like, how am I navigating this? Like, why am I not seeing results when other people are seeing results with a proven deck list? If you want to have those types of conversations, like talking about conceptual deck building and how you're supposed to navigate certain matchups with that type of thing in mind, and we can talk along those lines that can help with play. I find those conversations to be really interesting. I think that they're usually pretty fruitful because you can actually apply them to gameplay and see if it helps improve any of the results. Like, it's actually like you could track it. You can actually recognize, well, I committed to this thing, I tried it, it didn't work, or it did work. How do I then affect essentially my hypothesis now in the next event that I play in? I find those to be really interesting. I think they're usually pretty helpful. So if you are in those positions with any type of deck, or you want to talk about anything like that, hop over into Discord.
I mean, the Discord, beyond talking about Magic in the Discord, we all just tend to BS over there and just talk about whatever. A really great thing. We got into this weird conversation about like country music that we'll listen to. And we were talking about this song, I Can Fix a Drink, right? Which is like, it's a hilarious song. Go look it up. It's funny. And we were talking about how is this not like an SNL thing? It's actually a real song. I was walking on the like shopping avenue by my house the other day, and this was yesterday, and this dude was just acoustically playing I Can Fix a Drink. And I was like, I should have taken a video of him and sent it to the Discord. But the Discord's a lot of fun because we have these weird, like, the only people that are going to find that funny are the people that were in the Discord. But we have a lot of fun in Discord, just bullshitting and talking about decks and, life. And, there's a whole ton of stuff to jump in and BS about. But with that said,
it's also where I always put any new parodies that we have
that are under bars.
Our Patreon subscribers help support setting aside time to like make those types of parodies. But I always share the parodies in the Discord in the bar section first. So get in there and you can get like those sneak previews. The song at the beginning of the episode is new. The song at the end of this episode is new. If you want to listen to those, you can head over to the Discord, or you can listen to the audio version of the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yep. All right. Well, anyhow, thank you again to our Patreon supporters. And
I would like to specifically thank Nate Golia. Nate, thank you so much.
Miss Nate. Anyhow, that does it for this week, guys. Thanks. Be safe, and I'll catch you all later. Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out this other video. You'll probably like it.